Hey guys, and welcome to another Team C4G video. My name's Blake, and I've got a bit of a different video here than we normally put up, but I think it's an important one nonetheless. So, last weekend or the weekend before at Sydney YCS 2019, Jonah was in his top 32 feature match, having made it through Swiss, and in the middle of game 2, he searches his deck and the judge takes it off him. After that, the match ends, and we find out later that Jonah was actually DQ'd for having 3 cards upside down in his deck. So those 3 cards were 3 artifact lands he decided in for game 2. And as this is a form of marking cards, having cards the wrong way around, he was DQ'd on the grounds of cheating. So if that's pretty much it, I don't know why we talk about this. But there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more going on than I think a few people understand, or it might be a little bit less clean cut than people think it is. So I think it's important to talk about it. So let's start off with exactly what we know. So after speaking to a lot of different judges, both in and outside the event, after speaking with Jonah extensively, after talking amongst the team and talking to a few people and bouncing ideas off them, I've got a lot of stuff to show. A fair few of this will include in this video, but we are going to talk about it in the podcast later on. But for now, I'm just going to give you guys all the information we know. So the first thing we know is he was disqualified with prizes. As Jonah firmly says that he didn't get any other warnings all through the event, which I then checked with judges and they wouldn't confirm or deny this. So just going on what Jonah says, he didn't receive any warnings. But when it comes to being disqualified with prizes, we asked the judge about this and they sent us a ruling that says that to be disqualified with prizes, you have to have minor warnings or warnings that are escalated to a disqualification. That's how you keep your prizes through DQ. If you're just disqualified for intentional cheating, malicious intent, or malicious action, you don't keep your prizes. So there's already a little bit of inconsistency here, but we'll keep going. What we do know, though, is for him to be disqualified like that, as I said, it has to be deemed intentional, or at least malicious, but for this case, it was deemed intentional. So between the judges watching on stream and the 2 table judges, there was something that deemed it intentional. So what exactly happened, right? So I got my friend Ahmed on the phone, who's a very well-respected European judge, and I took him through it, and what he told me was normally, for cards the wrong way, you issue a warning, and then you get them to fix it, and then you move on. And that's normally how it goes. He said he could maybe see a game loss if it was once or twice, but that's the normal ruling. So this is already kind of there already has to be more going on here. So I'll lay out exactly how it went down. So going into game 1, Jonah loses the game. In game 2, as they're siding, the first thing he does is pick up his side deck, and he takes out 3 cards and puts them face down on the table facing the right direction. He goes through his side deck again, then he picks up his deck, goes through his deck and finds 3 cards to take out for the side deck cards, and then places his deck on top of the face down cards on the table being his side deck cards, but he puts the deck face down facing the left. This shuffles in the cards backwards. This could be seen as a mistake, and it could be seen as intentional. The way he did it absolutely can be deemed either way. But Jonah firmly claims it was an accident. He had a 50-50 chance to put the deck on top of the cards the wrong way, under the pressure of his first feature match, and you've got time coming, you don't want to get into that situation, you're going pretty quickly. That's what happens. After this, people online, on the YG Australia community, have all started to point out other things in that match in particular that kind of veers it towards him doing it more intentionally. This is relevant and both not relevant for reasons I'll go into. So the reasons that it's relevant is because we do want to see how he plays if there was play previous to this that could further the idea that he did it intentionally and it wasn't a one-off accident. At the start of game 1, his opponent shuffles his deck and hands it back, as you do, normal procedure, and Jonah draws his hand. He draws his hand upside down, though, so, that implies that the deck is upside down. So he flips his hand over, but he leaves his deck. And to Ahmed and I, this did seem very strange, because the first thing you do, especially in a feature match, you want to be as comfortable as possible, you pick up your deck, and you flip it, especially if it's the wrong way around. That's the first thing you do, you flip your deck. He didn't, though. He sets 4 cards and passes turn. In his opponent's turn, Jonah activates personal spoofing. This involves shuffling a card back in the deck. So he reveals the card that he has in his hand to shuffle, and it's Altergeist Protocol. He puts it on top of the deck face down, the correct way, which we know the deck is backwards, so he does shuffle it in backwards. This is the first thing that kind of hits to me that he absolutely should have known, and there's an absolute there's a certainty that he probably did know, and is very clearly a fuck up. Nothing happened after that point. He didn't gain any advantage off that card being backwards. He lost the game and they kept going. And then what happened in game 2 happens in game 2. Where I get a bit caught up in this, though, is that when it comes down to it, this is also not relevant because we're judging what happened based on the actions that were taken in that moment. The ones that the judges are basing their decision off. We're not judging it based on anything that happened at Oceanics previous. We're not judging it based on anything that even happened in that match previous. It's about the actual action that he took that was deemed as intentional cheating. I also spoke with the head judge, and he confirmed with me that judges aren't allowed to use footage previous to, like in a feature match, they're not allowed to go back and look at the footage. But if they're not allowed to do that, then that definitely confirms that they were doing their job based on that one incident. So I don't actually see how you can deem that incident as intentional and disqualify him. Not only does it not work when you say disqualify with prizes, because by the rules that a judge has sent me himself, who was at the event, that doesn't work. And it's inconsistent in its own right. Whether or not, there are two ways to this, and whether or not you believe what I'm saying is irrelevant, because it's either you believe he did this intentionally or you didn't. What I need to know is which side to believe. And to do that, we need more information. Either Jonah lied about getting a warning previous in the day, or there was something we didn't see, and there's something that's happened that has made a judge deem it as intentional. The thing is, though, is that Jonah avidly claims that Daniel, the head judge, said to him while they were filling out the paperwork for being disqualified, as you have to do after that happens, that he didn't believe that Jonah cheated. He was simply writing what he was told. What he was told happened. Sorry. This is also another big problem because another judge has confirmed to us that at the end of the day, the head judge makes the final decision on what he deems to be intentional cheating. This completely contradicts the statement, though, that if the head judge said that he didn't believe Jonah was cheating, there's no way he could push forward an intentional cheating DQ. Maybe a game loss from there, but that doesn't make sense either. So either somebody needs to start talking, or we're just left to assume that there was at least mistakes happening on both sides, which led to an unfair disqualification. There are a few other things that happened in the match, and if people want to point out the things that happened in the feature match to me, I'll point out even more. Because we have scrubbed through this feature match at half speed for hours now. I've done it with Lachlan, I've done it with other judges. We have all the information we need, and we know where else he stuffed up in that match. A judge has to come out and explain the process, because if this happened to me, I would be furious. If this happened to you and anybody listening who's never topped before, or it's their first feature match, this can't happen. We can't have these diluted rules when it comes to what judges are disqualifying people for or what they're giving game losses for. Because he did get disqualified, and if he'd been given a game loss, it would have resulted in the same thing. So why was he disqualified? That's what I want to know. So other than pointing out things in the feature match, because I promise you I know them all already, let me know what you think down in the comments. Chuck us a like, and, we'll be posting this on our social medias, but stay tuned for the podcast, which we'll put up soon. We will be discussing it back and forth more there, and I will see you guys later.